So special transportation, big headline thing to think about is that the vast majority of students who receive special education use the regular school bus system. So special transportation, that separate vehicle, different equipment, procedures, and staff is a huge commitment of resources. And because of that, there are steps that need to be taken prior to the IEP meeting. So special transportation is not something to toss out on a whim mid IEP meeting. There's a process, and that's the biggest thing I'm going to focus on here. So it's right up at the top here, in the bottom line and the go-to tools. We obtain authorization. If it's authorized, then we propose it at the IEP meeting. And if we write it into the IEP and the parent agrees, consents, then we set it up with the transportation department in our district. So authorization comes first, and that's, let's go left to right here. Authorization form. So if I think that the student needs special transportation, and there's a couple reasons on here, and then I'm going to talk through, a couple others, but there's reasons why the student might need special transportation. I'm going to print this form, fill it out, and get it signed by a services coordinator, my principal, and then special services supervisor, your special education administrator. And I'll show you how obviously, I think you know how to get your principal's signature. Services coordinator and SSS, I'll show you in just a second here. But accessibility, social behavior, health, medical, so some of those reasons. So without further ado, then let's talk about how we get those signatures. So on the bottom of Case Manager Resources, there's a Need Help button. And that opens to a page on the SpEd website that, if we just scroll down a tick here, conveniently brings us our services coordinators and administrative team. So that's where your special services supervisor, like Jen here, would be listed. So your special services supervisor is just the single SpEd administrator that supports your district. So it's just one person to find, with your district. And then services coordinator would be the person relevant to why the student needs special transportation. So let's say it's health medical. In most cases, that's going to be your low incidence services coordinator. So like Christine here in these districts, or Nell here in other districts. So that kind of brings us back to situations requiring special transportation. So a health medical condition, like seizures, oxygen equipment, accessibility. So the regular school bus physically is not accessible to the student. Early childhood special education. So that just depends on the scheduling essentially for the district. Special placement. So if I have a student who resides in North Branch and attends North Branch schools, but then we place the student in the Pathway to Change program, which is in Chisago Lakes, we would use special transportation to get that student from North Branch to Chisago Lakes. And then social behavior. This is, I think, the rarest one because there's, in many cases, other intervention strategies we can use to make the regular school bus accessible to the student versus putting the student on an entirely separate school bus, which is obviously, again, a huge commitment of resources. So those are some of the reasons. Again, we start with this authorization form, say that we've completed it and we have those 3 signatures and we're moving on. Then we would propose it at the IEP meeting, discuss it with the team, see what everybody thinks. If we're in agreement, we're going to add it to the IEP. Sorry, my eyes are on these 2 steps here. We'll write it into the IEP. And then if the team agrees, we send out the IEP to the parent. If the parent consents, passive consent after 14 calendar days, or if they actually sign the IEP, then we're going to set it up with the transportation department in our district. And I'm not going to go deep into this, but 5 out of 6 of our districts use one form for this, and then Chisago Lakes has a slightly different procedure. So if I were in East Central, Hinckley, North Branch, Pine City, or Rush City, I would copy Let me just show you what it looks like here. I'll make a copy of this, fill it out. For Chisago Lakes, it's just a little bit different. We fill out this form and then indicate that we're adding special transportation, and then someone at the district office, I believe it's the due process secretary, makes your transportation information form for you. So they're all owned by the same person. It's just stability is the reason why. So again, that part is just logistics for the bus garage, essentially. It's not SpEd paperwork, really. It's not part of IDEA. It's logistical paperwork for your bus garage so that they know what route the student is going to be on, what support that they need, if they need a lift for their wheelchair, essentially. So we've talked through the procedure. And again, this is the most important part I'm emphasizing. Obtain authorization first. We're not just bringing up special transportation at the IEP meeting without talking to anybody first. So obtaining authorization, proposing it at the meeting, adding it to the IEP. And then if we have obtained parent consent, then, logistically setting it up with the bus garage. So the only thing I really haven't covered is actually writing it in the IEP. So let's do that now. This Google Doc here, the one that has the little drop down button. So this shows what options are in the drop down in SpEd forms. And the only reason this document is here is to just, if you ever need to glance at the options that are in SpEd forms, the templates is what I mean, without digging into a specific student's IEP, this is a quick and convenient way to look at what those templates are. But when we're actually in SpEd forms on an IEP, on the services page 2, that's where we want to go for special transportation. And I need to scroll down past para support, past assistive technology, and pretend that I didn't have anything in there before the video started. So we would say no or yes. So we're always filling out something here, and even if it's just checking the box no. But for the sake of this video, let's select yes. And then Mars transportation code. Now, you might be confused about this, and who would blame you? Because one of the drop downs says special transportation, but it's not the one that we're going to use. So we need to use the one that says 3 disabled, and then it explains here, why special transportation is used. But it's bolded because that would be a very common mistake, right? So let's go to SpEd forms. So I'm going to select 3 disabled, and I want to click add, and here we go. All right, so service, and this is where those descriptions are. So let's say, yes, student will be provided special transportation to and from school on a vehicle equipped with a lift and wheelchair tie downs. So I'm going with that as an example. If there's any modification or individualization I need to make that template statement accurate to my student, I'm going to do it. In this case, I think that is capturing what my fake student needs. And then we have a couple other boxes here. Frequency, duration. So let's say 1 year. And then start date and end date is going to be the same as my services. So the math instruction, for example, the reading instruction my student receives, I would want to do the same start dates here, if it, unless there's extenuating circumstances, but as a general rule of thumb. And then I'm going to click save. Scrolling back down to take a look at it one more time. And that's, writing up special education transportation in my IEP. Thanks so much.